Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining XROM Podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Avil, and XROM Podcast was designed with a singular vision, and that is to shape, celebrate, and showcase India's AR/VR MR growth story, and to help you understand about this transformational technology which holds potential to change the way we live, work, and play. And today I have with me Pankaj Raut, CEO of Dimension NXG, and the creator behind India's first augmented reality headset, Ajnalite. I wish you enjoyed this conversation. Pankaj, I think you're one of the brave entrepreneurs because, see, most of the AR, VR startups, either you do services or, but nobody gets into the hardware space because that's a no-no, because that's for those big players. That's for the Google, Facebook. Unke liye chhod do yaar. So either you're a billionaire somewhere with lots of money. So tell me, how did your journey start and how did you decide to be so bold and get into hardware?
We started about 4 years back, and getting into a hardware was one conscious decision. We felt like every once in a decade a new technology comes in that drastically changes stuff. Let's say from machines, when the mechanical parts started coming in. Right. We then had phones, then we had computers. And all of these hardware players had a huge impact on the history, the civilization, the direction in which it moved. So we thought, instead of becoming the content player, instead of becoming the one who is using a specific hardware, why don't we put our leg into something that will have higher impact on civilization? With technologies like AR, VR, you have the good and positive side wherein you are immersed, it can do a lot more things for you, but then it could be isolating as well. So that is wherein we wanted to be someone who are consciously, morally directing the technology in a specific direction. Mm-hmm. And that could be only possible if you are on the hardware kind of a side.
Technology per se is isolating, because right now things are growing in such an exponential space, and all of these technologies at times, it can get overbearing, because there is AI, there is IoT, there's blockchain, there's nanotechnology, synthetic biology, autonomous electric vehicles, possibly drones, which will be, where we'll be able to sit into it, flying cars and things like that, but at the same time, there is these negative sides of technology also. When you said isolating, virtual reality itself is isolating. It's just for you. So you're possibly sitting in the VR headset, you're doing this, you're jumping around, and in public बाहर देख के सोच रहा होगा बंदा कर क्या रहा है, right? So do you see that as a negative point, and do you see a future where possibly all of these, maybe these three technologies, augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality, might converge into one single wearable device?
To answer your first question about the positive and negative side of, I think technology by itself, any technology, whether it be AR, VR, computers, AI, all of them, they are like a knife which has a positive and a negative side. You could cut and feed food, or you could cut someone, right? You could take life. True. So it depends on who is the one who is holding the knife. And your second question was, yes, with our first headset, what we have done with Ajnalite, what we have done is we have combined augmented and virtual reality in one single device, and it is artificial intelligence powered. The entire operating system, the gesture performance, the hand tracking, all of them are AI trained and AI powered as well. So you've rightly said, they all will combine into one single device.
When does a person get to buy this and experience this?
Straightforward answer, we'll be able to use it in February.
Right.
We've already started pre-launch, and we started it somewhere in October, and we were lucky enough to get more than 3,000 headsets pre-order sign-ups. Lovely. Which was a huge positive thing for us. Our first shipment is already in manufacturing. By January and February, you'll be seeing people using the headsets.
Congratulations, and you have done excellently well. I think, there is, so, I somehow I feel that, you have made the impossible possible, because a startup getting into hardware is a strictly no, because, there's a lot of R&D, and for which you require humongous amount of money, right? And you require these crazy team which understands, how to do this, So tell me how your journey has been. How did you manage to pull this off?
We started this in IIT Bombay, one of the XROM rooms, and Abhijit, the co-founder, was studying there. and we said, okay, now we have this idea. How do we build it up? Let's start with building a prototype, and then the early prototypes was just a 3D printed case with a mirror, and then we had a phone on it so that we could see AR, and that's how it all started. We decided, okay, it's just two of us. We need to grow team. This is not something that will go and sell in the market. We need to build a proper headset. Back then, I think Magic Leap was not into the market. HoloLens had just strike the version 1. So we had an idea about where we want to go towards. That's when we started IIT में. We were roaming around. We were seeing if people would join us, and we had no funding back then. And मतलब हम खुद भी पैसे नहीं लेते थे. So it was like, would you like to work for us instead of going to a proper paid job? They have studied so much in IIT. They are looking for a job, and then we found some crazy people. They joined us joined hands with us. We started. We came up to a specific prototype which was good enough to show to investors. We had mapped down on what specific customers that we were looking for, and at Zone Startup is when we thought about our first seed or angel round. We started creating our own documents. We had some people from Zone helping us creating a pitch deck. That is wherein we were lucky enough to find Japan Vyas. He was the founder of Sixth Sense Ventures back then. To be an early investor into the technology. We faced a lot of challenges in terms of even at seed or angel round. One, hardware starting coming out of India. Big challenge is within India, you don't have any hardware company which has gone really big.
Right.
India so far has always been a software, IT kind of a country.
Yeah.
And there is money there. But hardware, where you have to spend, as you said, in R&D, development, and then over 3 years, after 3 years, you'll see first revenue.
Right.
That's a big challenge, getting it right through that. Secondly, the technology was very new back then. AR, VR. Because now you see a lot of videos online here and then. Now you can see or visualize what are the end applications. Back then there were not enough videos. All we had to do was talk, speak, and convince investors.
So yes, I mean, you rightfully said that India lacks a global tech company. Do you think somewhere down the line it's the risk averse nature of the investors or the lack of government support is the reason why we don't have these global tech companies? And if you see at this point in time, I mean, yes, we have Indians who are heading these global companies, right?
Yes.
From your Googles and Microsoft and your Adobes, have your Indians, who have heading those companies. But somehow we have a complete lack of a Indian hardware-based tech company. So, what would be your advice to startups? And do you would you advise them to think as bold as you, or would you say, no, pahla paisa pakdo usko and go for the ROI? Don't be so bold. What would you?
Ideally, there are two ways you could go about it. You could go a proper startup way, or you could have a lean revenue generating kind of a business early on. For a startup kind of a way, you should be a kind of a person who is strong-willed, who doesn't really give up easily. Are you that kind of a person who would go for something like that? Because there will be a lot of ups and downs, and for the early 1 or 2 odd years, there will be no revenue, no income coming in. Will the family be able to sustain that kind of thing? Second one is someone who slightly risk averse, but wants to do something of his own. Then there are a lot of books out in the market, 4-hour work with 1% $1 million business. You could start exploring that, wherein you could build a revenue generating machine, a revenue generating company early on, and then using that revenue you could do your own R&D and start building an entire company out of it. The key benefit there is wherein you are not locked down. You have more freedom about what direction you want to take your company in. But let's say if you have a startup because you want the funding to come in, somewhere you are locked down in terms of the investors, the kind of things that you will be able to do, the kind of things that you would be able to explore as well.
If you have a model where you can sustain this thing, then yes, go bold and solve the biggest problem. Because the world is looking out, or India is looking out for entrepreneurs who are bold and who says, "Kya, okay, I'm going to solve that problem." Like you were bold. You have done something which there's no Indian startup which has done. Yes, I mean, it is the future, right? It is, I mean, in another 5 years, 10 years down the line, I think all of the industry verticals will be adopting AR, VR, you know, right
Yes.
from education, healthcare, entertainment, gaming, enterprise, everybody will be. But currently, it is a little shaky. What are your views on
So to start off with global market, I think and even in India market, it is at a stage when we had those when we moved from landlines to the early mobiles with big form factor, really expensive. You had to remove the antenna up and then you would have to hold something like that. This is what stage we are at. But technology back then was not moving or adapting as quickly as now it's adapting right now. So I think within the next 3 to 4 years, the things that you mentioned will really absolutely become a truth. Then you will have technology. Then you will have technology companies, then manufacturing companies, doctors, scientists, everybody using AR VR technologies to augment their work, become better at their work.
right now things are like, you know, you snap your finger and your iPhone 10 has gone out and is jumped onto another version altogether, right? So yes, so how would AR VR benefit the people? I mean, whether it's your enterprise or consumers right now, and what should we do? I mean, because I mean, it's predicted that in another 5 years millions of people will go jobless, you know, and so reskilling is so very important, you know. Adopting new technologies or being aware about it is so very important. But to our listeners, you know, supposing if it's your enterprise or consumers, they're sitting out there and listening, what would you tell them, and what needs to be done, I mean, to kind of keep them updated?
So right now within India or Asia region, I think the biggest use cases of technology like this is in simulation and training. So right from your enterprises to your defense, it's already been used there, and that too in some specific ways. It's for both hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills in terms of you, let's say we are working with a factory in Pune, which is into automobile manufacturing. They have a lot of churn rate that someone joins in, they train them for a week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, and the person might just leave. Then they have wasted their time, their cost in training these guys. That becomes a big issue for them. So one of their requirement was how can we train them at low cost, and how can we analyze their skill or how they have really understood. That's when using our headsets we copied down the entire factory. You wear the headset, you do the training there, so then you can train multiple people at the same time. That's one big use case of the headset. That is a use case wherein training is required. Simulation is another use case wherein, let's say with the defense, you can simulate multiple scenarios wherein they can practice. Both of them are hugely in requirement. There are a lot of companies who are looking to reduce their training cost using this. There's one other thing that's coming up is machine repair and maintenance. With AI, a lot of these machines being understanding about predictive analysis. When will it break down? When you need to do the oiling. Using an augmented reality headset, it can guide the user how to do the oiling or how to do the maintenance, how to do the repair, which is a big use case currently going on. One, it reduces the time to carry out the entire maintenance. Secondly, you don't require the entire training, or if let's say a person from your company who knows or understands that leaves, you are not lost, you do not lose the knowledge. You can, a new person can just wear the headset and he's guided through the entire procedure.
So what was the price point that you're looking at your the first
Ajnalite.
right.
So I'll tell you why we came up with Ajnalites is we were looking at the hardware market and we were seeing everything is about, even with STC, you spend more than 50,000-60,000 rupees per headset. And you just get VR. And if you look at, let's say you want to use augmented reality, you're spending upwards of 2.5 lakhs and above. With the customs and shipping, it goes more than 3 odd lakhs. So he said there is a huge market for a headset between about 30 to 50,000 rupees. So our headset we marked at MRP of around 49,999, which is about 45,000 rupees, which is a AR plus VR device. So you're not just locked to VR. Compared to a HoloLens or compared to other high-end device, the cost is drastically low. Because of the optics optics technology that we are using, reflection based technology, we have been able to get a bigger field of view, about 84 degrees field of view with the headset, and then the clarity of the holograms also drastically increases.
Right.
So we decided, okay, this is the market that we'll target into. We don't say we directly compete with those headset, but there's a huge space for that. Like with one of these automobile companies we are working with, they want to deploy about 30 to 50 headsets. Deploying a AR headset which cost you about 2 to 3 lakh rupees, that was already cancelled. But then when they found out, okay, there is a headset which is at about 45,000 rupees, this they went on deploying that.
Lovely.
So we have two versions. One is Ajnalite, one is Ajnalite Pro. Ajnalite is about 45,000 rupees. It's a 3DOF. We consciously created a 3DOF headset because we see training and education as large use case, wherein the student doesn't really have to move or walk towards. He just sits on a table, interacts, understands. With a Ajnalite Pro, which is a 6DOF, it's the same headset, is just one sensor which being added that increases the entire cost. It's more for complex training where the person has to move around.
You will need content.
Yes.
Right. So are you tying up with people? Are you tying up with content studios? Are you building your own content? How do you interact with an education institute? Per se, when you go and meet the education institute and you say that this is it. I mean, it's something which could redefine education,
Yes.
because so far we are stuck with rote education, right? We look at the books and that's something, we easily forget. I mean, I don't really know, you read it and you forget, but when you experience things,
True.
you retain it more.
Yes.
But to do that, like I said, I mean, you need content. You
Yes.
have a headset. So
Yes.
who's filling the void?
So we partner up with content companies.
Right.
We have figured out some key content companies who are creating content for education, which are curriculum based, because that becomes a key criteria. They need to understand the curriculum,
Right.
and they need to create content for that specific curriculum. So we've partnered up about 5 to 6 more companies. But said that, we are always looking for content companies to partner up with, because we create the hardware. There are a lot of companies who are approaching us for an end-to-end solution. We don't provide them end-to-end solution. We provide them hardware. We connect them with a content partner who has the right expertise, and then they build up the entire solution for them.
Do you see AR, VR getting ubiquitous, and what are the business opportunity for a startup who wants to get into it right now?
For a startup, there are huge number of opportunities within the AR VR market. So I'll start with some specific industries. One, gaming. So gaming, if you say, it's not just let's say individual playing at a home. You could have your own gaming studios, AR VR gaming studios that you could set up. It could be a mobile gaming studio, such as like a Uber apps. You download, a person with 5 or 10 AR VR headset comes to your place, and you 5 or 6 of friends can play, let's say, a zombie war within your room itself. That's the kind of business opportunity. It's just the creativity that's required within this space. It could be for care, which is one thing which is rarely taken care of, like senior citizen care, wherein you provide them with headset based experiences wherein they could move around the world. They visit some devotional places, they could interact with virtual elements, virtual pets. That's something that we can explore into. There's a company who is doing something for visiting religious spaces,
Yeah.
using the headset, right?
Yeah.
That's a great opportunity, and as far as I know, they have become cash positive. They are rolling
Right.
really, really well.
Right.
It's just the creativity that we need to look into. With enterprises, there are multiple stages, right from product design, wherein whether it be automobile, whether it be architecture, you can start providing solutions wherein it helps them either reduce the product design time. It can help them visualize, show their customers their initial product designs quickly. It could be for the regular repair and maintenance that we spoke about. It could be after sales service as well. So let's say a customer has a specific machine or a equipment that they are selling. After it's sold, it could be used for diagnosis. It could be used for repair again. Yes, that is where they can use it. Other in defense, there is a lot of use cases, training, simulation, to strategizing, such as you create a digital hologram of the entire thing. Right now they are using sandboxes. Instead of that, why not use the AR VR to do that? So there are a lot of business opportunities, just the creativity that we have to look into and think through. Yes.
What is the market size? I mean, at this point in time, it looks very exciting. So, what do you see? Where is the market size? I mean, of AR VR in the next?
So-
Where does it stand in the next 5 or 10 years?
I'll not answer this one with numbers. I would consciously answer it with in terms of comparing it with the technology. With computers, when they early started, IBM or other this guys said it will be used by majorly 10 people around the world. It doesn't have real life impact. And then now you see everybody is using a computer. Yeah, right from your desktops to mainframes to laptops to mobile phone. It's a
Mobile
form of
phones.
computing.
Yeah.
Now AR VR is the next generation of computing. So everybody will be using it for some or the other use. From let's say a person who is sitting at home doing nothing to someone who is on the forefront doing something which is very very critical kind of work, right? Like doctors. It will be used everywhere. The challenge right now is we talk to a lot of customers who are using AR VR. Not many Indian companies, but more global companies are seeing India as a huge market for AR, VR, and they are approaching this. Where we have a Singapore-based company, we have a US-based company, we have a UK-based company talking to the same customer for AR, VR, while there are few Indian companies who are talking to this.
So yes, I mean, I think that's such an important point that you put forth. Yes, I mean, what is it with India or Indians? Why don't we realize that we are on the cusp of becoming that global superpower? We have all the resources. We have human resources, 1.3 billion people. And when I say resources, we've got the largest global population when it comes to youth.
Yes,
Yes,
active youth.
Active youth. And that's great mind. And then we can create everything. Why do you see that these these other countries see us as an opportunity, India as an opportunity, but we don't see that opportunity. And what would it take for us to realize that we are living in a great country with this diverse culture, and we can build whatever we want? And please, can you?
How it's marketed, right? India is very well marketed globally as a big growing nation. There are articles, news about India, business opportunities, something happening here and there. While within India, we are so much stuck within some other aspect of politics, this, right now, the things that are happening, that we lose sight of this business opportunities. What I think right now is required is more podcast, more marketing regarding this business opportunities within this industry. Globally, it's marketed very well. Within India, it's not marketed as such, the India itself.
So yes, you broached on how India is not seeing the opportunity. AR, VR, MR, I mean, it's novelty. It's the coolest thing at this point in time, But still, the community and ecosystem is in a very nascent stage, and it's not just here. I mean, it globally is also the same. So there are these small or big players who are pushing it and validating that AR, VR, MR is the next big thing, So what should one do to build a community? Because I'm doing my own part by building Immersion VR Fest, which I put it together, or the XROM news platform, and in this XROM podcast, where we're trying to connect with all of you people, and have leaders such as yourself. You express your views about where the industry stands and where the industry is going to go in the next 5 or 10 years. So what should one do, and what are you doing to push the ecosystem?
I think the biggest thing we could do within India is to have consistent events, consistent physical events. We had events in the past, but then they were once a year, once every 6 months. The challenge is everybody comes together, everybody gets hyped, and after a month or so, the entire hype is gone down. They are lost within the entire everyday structure. So one thing which we at Dimension NXG are looking forward to do is at least have 2 physical events every month, either at our office, either within somewhere within Mumbai, and then slowly scale it out to other geographies, to Bangalore, to Delhi. consistent events, physical events is I think one big thing that we need to slowly start building.
Your 2020 vision for yourself and your company.
So for myself, I think my 2020 vision is to have a huge impact on society, and that I'm doing through Dimension NXG. With one thing is with, let's say, Ajnalite, where we are talking about education as one of our biggest customers. We don't want to go to the top schools. We obviously will go and do that, but our entire vision is to go to the rural parts of India. How can we provide augmented and virtual reality technology to the person who is sitting in a tier 4, tier 5 kind of city or a village there? We are figuring out the ways in which we can innovate on the business model such that it will be at absolutely free cost to all of these people. There are ways we have figured out, there are activities that we are doing to reach to that level. That is one biggest impact that we are going to have. Secondly is through defense, we want to enable the global defense against the fight of terrorism. I have been personally been very excited looking at Iron Man movies. The technology was not real. At least we are trying to bring one aspect of the technology in reality. That is wherein you have a heads-up display and there is an AI assistant who is working with you. What if every soldier has that kind of capability? So that is one thing we want to give. And third is enterprise. In enterprise, there are so many things that we can do using this technology. We want to help the first line workers within these companies become more powerful in their work.
It was a complete pleasure to talk to you and understand about what you're doing and what you're building. You, I must say, are a bold entrepreneur. And I'm really happy to have this conversation. I'm sure so many people, I mean, the listeners will take so much from this conversation. And I like the part that when you said that you are building these VR, AR headsets and you're going to take it to the rural part and possibly kind of figure out a way where you can,
and we are very close to it.
Yeah, to give free education to the people. I think that's such a noble cause, and the idea is to educate all of India. It's not just the people who are the city dwellers. You need to take it to the rural India. And when you educate everybody, you create this world or this country which is cohesive and which understands that the future is awesome, and we come together and build that future that we are proud of, I mean, because that's what it's all about, right? We all have that opportunity. So on that note, thank you for being part of XROM podcast. And for the listeners, if you like what you hear, please press the subscribe button. And like I said, I mean, I'm going to leave all the details below for Pankaj. If you want to get in touch with him, like you said, if you're a content creator, please get in touch with him. And it's about building a community, right? And do stay in touch, so if you have any views, please do share who you might want to see on XRM podcast, who you might want to see on Change I Am Possible podcast, and how we can make India into the powerful nation, right? And how you can benefit from this, right? So until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.